Good morning. This is Eric with His&Hers Hobby Headquarters, coming to you with what we hope is a fun and informative video. We're going to do a review and build of this 1/72nd scale United States Air Force F-16A. This was produced by Academy, and we picked it up at Hobby Lobby, and we happened to get lucky on that. It was on one of those days where they were having a 40% off sale, so I paid much less than $17.99. What we're hoping to accomplish here is a quick review and a quick build of what is really a simple kit. I had this kit once when I was a kid, and I went a little crazy with it, I remember, but I never put any decals on it. I was a kid, I was young, I didn't even care that the decals helped make the kit. But I did have it, and I did remember it was a really cool little kit. So I hope that this will portray a better understanding or growth on my part and help you consider getting into the hobby or at least looking into it. Now, the first thing we're going to do is do a quick review of the box contents, and then we'll get started. Let's open this thing together. As you can see, there is very little in the way of parts in this kit. It's a rather simple kit. Let's take a moment. Take our number 11 X-Acto blade. Carefully cut this open. And see about pulling out these parts trees or sprues, depending upon who you talk to. Now, real quick, we can see this Academy kit's got some pretty decent detail here. Right off the bat, we can spot an issue, but doesn't matter. This is going to be an out-of-the-box build. We're not going to do anything special with it. We're just going to have a little bit of fun. Get this thing together. The edges are nice and crisp. The intake needs a little bit of sanding. The front landing gear is already assembled for us. It'll be fun painting this. This here is the undercarriage. Very little detail to no detail here in the internal gear bay. However, we do have some fair detail going on here in the landing gear wheels. There's fair detail here. Obviously, this part here, like, we're going to have to cut this if we want the gear down. So we have to cut this and create our landing gear doors. The clear parts are actually really crisp. I like that. But we're going to leave it in the bag to keep this protected for the moment until we get to it. Yes, these are some nice clear parts. Let's set these aside and see what else we have in the box. These are Academy decals. I've never had problems with Academy decals, but we'll have to see how these do. me see here. These are some quick information sheets discussing tools that would be helpful in the build. Set that aside. The instruction sheet is literally just one sheet. Gives you a brief history of the F-16. Gives you a color scheme to work with here. And 1, 2, 3, 8 quick steps. This is going to be a fun, quick build. So we'll take a moment here. Let me reset, and we will discuss the tools we'll be using. Okay, first off, you don't have to go out to the store and buy a whole lot of fancy model-specific items. Both of these here were picked up real cheap at a Dollar Tree. These are your nail files. They work really well when working with plastic models. Side snips to help you clip parts off the parts trees. Your number 11 X-Acto blade. Make sure it's new. Tweezers. And I've got two different glues here. This is the good old-fashioned red tube glue from Testers. I like to use this on model aircraft where you're gluing the pegs together on the inside, when you attach the wings together and the fuselage pieces together. And then once that's done, I'll go back over the seam with this Tamiya Extra Thin. This happens to be the quick setting. I do like to use the regular Tamiya Extra Thin, but the Tamiya Extra Thin quick setting, either one works, and it actually helps clean up your seam lines so you don't have to do as much filling with your putties or sanding later on. You'll see what I'm talking about when we get to it. This is just a standard 800 grit sandpaper I picked up at Walmart. Real cheap, real effective. I've got 1000 grit, 1200 grit, 1600 grit, 2000 grit, and 2500 grit, I think it is. Those help with the taking care of the extra lines or joins when you want to get better, cleaner detail on your builds. Of course, we've also got gloves. You don't have to have your gloves, but they're always helpful when you're trying to avoid getting paint on your hands, which, as you can see, I've got paint on my hands. I don't always wear my gloves. But now we're getting on to the build, so let's reset and we'll get right to it. Okay, so as you can see, this is where we are in the build process. Off camera, of course, I finished adding a few things. I cut the front or nose landing gear doors to get it in there. That blue is blue tech. These are holding the doors in place, so when I paint, everything comes out the same color. And off camera, I will touch up these areas here and give them a little bit more color. I will attach the canopy, have it masked off. And some of you may have noticed the oopsie when I was assembling the wing to the fuselage here. It has to do with how this glue works, and I will explain all of that later. But with a little bit of sanding, it's taken care of here. I'll prime and paint, and you shouldn't be able to tell. But otherwise, this is where we currently are. When we come back, the laser guided bombs will be assembled and painted. The drop tank will be assembled and painted, and the ECM pods will be ready to go. I'm going to attach the ordnance pylons here for paint because these are supposed to be the same color as the underside of the aircraft. As you can see, there's attachment points here. And I do believe these ones, the inner ones are for the bombs, the outer ones are for the ECM pods, and the inner one is for the drop tank. I could be wrong. I just have to look at the directions. That's what they're there for. Again, this is a brief update on where we are in the build. And off camera, we're going to get all the rest of this stuff taken care of and get some paint on this. Real quick, to explain this Tamiya Extra Thin, the reason why I like it so much is because it has a chemical reaction with the plastic. It actually causes the plastic to not melt but reform, and it actually bonds it together. This cement actually grabs the plastic and holds the plastic together. However, it will actually mess with paint and chrome on your parts, so the adhesion won't be as great as it were if it were plastic to plastic. Your super glues, whether it's a painted surface or a chromed surface, just straight grab the parts and hold them together. They force them together. This one actually just grabs the plastic, the clearer plastic, and holds it together. It doesn't quite melt it unless you use too much. This stuff, the Tamiya Extra Thin, actually goes in the smallest amount and will bond the plastic together. So that's where the little oopsie happened here, because some of that escaped from the seam here and got up here when my thumb was touching it, and it melted it a little bit. It's kind of hard to tell, but a little bit of sanding and that's pretty well taken care of. but we're not looking for perfect with this. We're just trying to get it built out of the box, get it painted, which the paint scheme is going to be something unique when we come back to it. Otherwise, stay tuned. When we come back, everything will be primed. Extra things will be assembled as needed. The bombs and the drop tank will be assembled, and things will be ready to go together for the final time, and we'll do the final reveal then. So hang on to your hats, and here we go. Alright, here we are in the final stretch of this F-16 build. It's not exactly perfect, it's not my best work, but that's not the point. The point is we're building this out of the box, and we're just getting it assembled. It will have a place of honor on my shelf, well, because it's the first video build I've ever done. So as you can see, we've got our paint scheme going, got the light gray on the bottom, the dark gray on the top. The canopy is still masked because I have to apply the decals or decals depending upon where you are in the world, and they adhere better to a glossier surface. Once the decals are applied, I will hit the entire model with a matte coat or flat coat, and once that's dried, I will remove the mask, and we'll have a nice frame painted and clear canopy. All of our ordnance are done. It's our ECM pods, our ordnance racks, 2 bombs, fuel tank, pair of sidewinders, and all of our landing gear supports. Now I'm actually kind of proud of this. I don't know how well you can see this. Let's see if we can't zoom in just a little bit maybe. Just a little bit. If you look, this is actually one of the better exhausts I've ever done. And I still got to do a few little touch-ups here, get the wash to go further down in those seams there. But I've got it blued a little bit of burnt copperish look going there. I like that. And all of you get to share this experience with me that I've actually produced one of the best jet exhaust I've ever done. Again, this is just a simple build. It's quick, it's out of the box, doesn't have to be perfect. That's not the point. The point is to show you can get started, and with the simplest things, the simplest tools, nail files, the simple X-Acto blade, a couple of brushes, various paints, your Tamiya acrylics, your Model Masters, different glues, and you can lay down a decent, nice looking kit straight out of the box. You don't have to do anything special. You don't have to be a Model Master. That's not the point of this. As you can see here, there's still plenty of seams going on that we could have filled. We could have done more with it. These seams here, we could have cleaned all of this mess up, but that wasn't the point. This was just to show you that you too can build a model straight out of the box and come up with a decent looking model with very little effort, something you can be proud of, something you can learn from and grow from. That's the point. Our next build, which I will highlight when we do the final reveal on this, we will do a lot more work on it and a lot more detail, cleaning up the seam lines, cleaning up mold lines, and try to create as better a kit as we can. Instead of just building something straight out of the box, we're going to put some effort into it. We're going to see what we can come up with. And that's the point, to grow. So hang on tight. The next few shots, you will get to see the final reveal. Alrighty, everybody, here we are. We are at the final reveal for the Academy models, United States Air Force F-16A in 1/72nd scale. Now, there have been a few fit issues, a couple of paint issues, my fault. But I have to say, this kit, this build, though definitely not my best, certainly looks a whole heck of a lot better than the F-16 I built when I myself was a kid. Again, for those of you who may be experienced modelers and see things, maybe little mistakes or something like that, understand this is just an out-of-the-box build just to get the message across to those who might not be into the hobby, but who are considering something different. This is something fun to do. You can do it straight out of the box. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you build, you learn, and you grow from each build. So, with all of that being said, let's take a look at this aircraft. So, what do you think? Obviously, as I said, there are a few fit issues. These gaps, these seams, for me, an experienced modeler, those are a little frustrating for me. I would possibly fill them on a later build. But if this is your first time building, these are okay. Now, this kit isn't going to go to some model show. I'm not going to enter it for judgment. But again, I stated previously, it is definitely going on my shelf. I am proud of this build. I've learned from it. And I look forward to more builds. So, congratulations to us. We've made it through our first build video together. And the aircraft actually turned out really, really nice. So, if I were to give myself a 1 to 5 rating here, I would give myself a 3. I think there were many things I could have done better, but it would just be for me, not for anybody else. It's something to build and learn from. So, with all of that being said, let's set this aside for the moment. Again, it's going to wait for us to put it up for display on our shelf. And we will get some photos and post them in the Facebook page. So be sure you head over and like that too. His&Hers Hobby Headquarters or His&Hers HHQ. So now, real quick, we're going to discuss our next build. What should we build? I know. This build will cover both an actual build video, which I'm thinking we're going to split it up between two videos. You'll have a step one, all the clean up and getting everything situated, and then the part two will be the assembly, and maybe a part three, but we'll see. But this build also covers another hint for that Autocar A64B, and I will explain that in just a moment. And here we go. The MPC Godzilla Planetary Defense Vehicle Willys MB Jeep, as featured in Invasion of the Astro Monster. This is 1/25th scale, but again, just because I've stated it before, just because that's what's in the box doesn't mean that's what has to come out of the box. Personally, I'm really excited because I am a Godzilla fan. But the Jeep isn't going to be as seen in the movie. The reason being is because as much of a fan I am of Godzilla, I'm an even bigger fan of MASH. I see this and I see one of the Jeeps from MASH. Now I've already opened the box, so I know the tires are not period correct military Jeep tires for MASH. And because I don't have a 3D printer or anything like that, we're just going to use the standard tires that come in this. But with a little bit of research, I'm going to get some photos of the various Jeeps used in the TV series MASH. And I'm going to make sure this is properly numbered and properly lettered, situated for MASH. So we're going to go all out on this. We're going to clean up mold lines. We're going to clean up seam lines. And we're going to try and make it look as good as possible. Good being a relative term, because we're also going to make sure it's dirty. Because none of those Jeeps, I'm not sure if you noticed, but the vast majority of the Jeeps in MASH, if you actually caught the series or are a fan of it, most of the Jeeps were really, really dirty. Lots of road grime and dust, dirt, mud, kind of beat up. That's going to be what we're looking for with this build. Now, as far as that goes, the hint for the Autocar A64B, and this is not a paid advertisement, I'm just trying to help you out. I got most of my models, specifically the Autocar, from autoworldstore.com. I love 1/25th scale, so that's what I have and that's what I'm building. And it worked out really well for me that some of the stuff from here, Kit Bash, is going to go from this Jeep to the Autocar. What could I possibly take from a Jeep and use on a semi? Well, the 105 millimeter recoilless rifle, the 50 caliber Browning machine gun, and the pedestal supporting the machine gun. Those were borrowed from this kit and are over in the auto car. Not in the auto car, on the auto car. Let's be correct here. But otherwise, since I've decided this is going to be a MASH Jeep, there's going to be several parts that are left over from the kit that we throw in our parts bin just as something extra we can maybe use later on. But it does come with a litter, so we're going to use the litter. It also comes with this crazy roof here and pedestals for the roof. For the Surrey version here, pardon my English, I'm messing this one up. The Surrey version, it's the military, or pardon me, military, I was just happened to be looking at that. It's the civilian version of the Jeep. This would be what you would use if you were a hotel or something like that, and you were in a very temperate climate like Hawaii or something like that. You might use something like this to run your guest around, take them from the hotel to the airport or from the hotel down to the beach or something like that. It's a really cool little version, but we're actually going to go for the military. We're going for MASH. We're going to have leftover parts. This has been the final for the F-16. We've discussed our next build. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment on any of the videos I have. I will do what I can to answer questions. If I don't know the answer, I will look it up. Also, go over to Facebook and follow us over there. We will have progress photos. We will have completed photos of the builds as we go along. We will have more little tips and little teasers as to what the auto car is going to come out to be. But it's going to be a big build. I trust you'll enjoy it. I really think you will. You'll enjoy how it looks, because unfortunately I don't have any video of the build, but you will get to see the completed model. Just because that's what's in the box doesn't mean that's what has come out of the box. So once again, I'm Eric with His&Hers Hobby Headquarters. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share, comment, follow us on Facebook. Have a good day.